It's good to have you back here again. This is PrepStation History SSCE tutorials. Okay, let's do a recap. The last topic we treated was early European contact with West Africa. Early European contact with West Africa. And we said that the first Europeans to come to West Africa was the Portuguese, and it was in the 15th century. Please take note of this. Now we'll be looking at another topic. We're looking at Christian missionary activities in West Africa. We've talked about Islam in West Africa. We said Islam came through trade, through the trans-Saharan trade. Now we're looking at Christian missionary activities. After the Europeans came, and we said that the Europeans came for trade. They came to explore the land and finally for trade. So the people that came next were the missionaries. Now let's read what we have on the board. It says, the expansion of the missionary movement into Africa was part of the growing conception of Christian responsibility for the regeneration of African peoples. The anti-slavery issue and the humanitarian conscience also played a vital role in stimulating European interest in Africa. So what are we saying? After the abolition of slave trade, colonization began, and one thing, the next people that came online was the missionaries. And let's not forget that Western education came through the missionaries, Let's look at the next thing. It says, okay, let's read this other slide. The others included the Christian responsibility for the regeneration of African peoples. The achievement of the purposes of these Christian missions came with some costs. You know, great missionaries we have in West Africa. We have the likes of Henry Townsend, Hope Waddell, Bishop Ajayi Crowther, Mary Slessor, name them. So let's continue. I need you to read up. Okay, now we're looking at establishment of Christian churches in the Gambia. Now, one thing you need to take note of, the Gambia is a country that has majority of Muslims. Please take note. And if you go back to history, when we talk about the defunct empires, like the Mali Empire, the Ghana Empire, and the Songhai Empire, take note that the Gambia, Senegal, and present-day Mali, some of the cities fall under the Gambia. Please take note. So let's read what it says. It says, the vast majority of the people of the Gambia are Muslims, but a sizable percentage of the population, especially in and around the capital, Banjul, are Christians. Early missionaries conducted by Roman Catholics were short-lived. A new attempt to spread Christianity was made when the Christian Missionary Society, CMS, arrived from Britain. Remember, the Christian Missionary Society is under the Anglican Church. Take note of this. Arrived from Britain in 1821, they were followed in turn by the Methodists and the Roman Catholics. Within a short time, the missionaries spread their activities inland. So I need you to read up some of this so that you know Christian missionary activities in the Gambia. Christian missionary activities in the Gambia. Okay, we have Christian missionary activities in Ghana. Christian missionary activities in Ghana. So you can see that we have some names here. We have Reverend Tom Thompson. These are missionaries that left Europe, Britain, to come and establish churches in Europe and churches in Ghana. And I hope you know that some of these missionaries gave their best. Some of them lost their lives while carrying out these activities. So you can see. All right, let's go. I need you to read up. Okay, now we have establishment of Christian churches in Nigeria. The same thing, what we're saying is Christian missionary activities in Nigeria. We said, in the days of Portuguese contact with Nigeria, Catholic priests had established missionary stations in Benin and the neighborhood. But despite the work of Portuguese missionaries based on the island of Sao Tome and later of Spanish missionaries in Benin, it was not until the 19th century that the Christian religion was firmly established in Nigeria. Please take note of this. So you can see, it said it started first among the Yoruba captives who had embraced Christian faith while in Sierra Leone. You know, Sierra Leone now, when the abolition of slave trade was done, the capital of Sierra Leone is called Freetown because that was where slaves that were brought from America, the Caribbean, were dropped. They were dropped on that land. That was why it was named Freetown. Freetown. Take note of this. It says, freed from slave trading ships by the British Royal Naval Squadron and who returned home between 1839 and 1845. The pastors of the Church Missionary Society from Badagry and later from Sierra Leone visited these Christian communities in Abeokuta and other towns. Among the first missionaries was the Reverend Townsend, Henry Townsend, I talked about it, who went from Sierra Leone to Badagry in 1842. In his company was Reverend Ajayi Crowder. Remember Reverend Ajayi Crowder? He happens to be the first African bishop. The first African bishop. Take note of this. And I hope you know that, like I said earlier on, I said the Christian Missionary Society was under the Anglican Church. So take note of this. Now, one of the things you need to understand, Bishop Ajayi Crowder was also one of the pioneer missionaries. Take note of this. He said, churches were firmly established in several important towns, such as Abeokuta in 1846, Lagos, 1851, Ibadan, 1853, Oyo, 1856. Next branches of the CMS Church were founded in southeastern Nigeria, the chief centers being Bonny and Brass. Bonny is in present-day Rivers State. These are riverine area. Brass is in present-day Bayelsa State. This is another riverine area. The effect of work done by Bishop Ajayi, assisted by the Igbo recaptive, the Reverend J.C. Taylor, in this part of southern Nigeria can still be seen today. Do you remember what Bishop Ajayi Crowder did? Remember the translation of the Bible? You remember, yes, from English to the Yoruba translation. All right, let's continue. Okay, all the missionaries opened up missionary stations in the country. These included the Baptist missionaries who were under the American evangelist Thomas Bowen, started work from Ogbomoso in 1851. Why am I mentioning this date? You need to take note. So after the CMS came, that's the Anglican Church, the Baptist came, we also have the Presbyterian Church. One of the oldest Presbyterian church in Nigeria is the Hope Waddell the Hope Waddell Church in Calabar, Cross River State, that formed the Hope Waddell School for boys. It was also formed within that time in the 19th century. So let's continue. Headed by the Reverend Hope Waddell, he was named after the school. Started pioneering work in 1846 in Calabar. Hope Waddell was later joined by the Reverend Hugh Goldie and William Anderson. All these people were missionaries. Another missionary whose memory is revered in Nigeria was Mary Slessor. She arrived in the country in 1876 and for many years worked assiduously as a missionary nurse. Succeeded in stopping the killing of twins in the area where she served. Mary Slessor was a Scottish nurse that spent almost all her adult life here in Nigeria. Almost all her adult life here in Nigeria. She stopped the killing of twins. She didn't just stop the killing. Some of those children, she adopted them as hers. So I also need you to read up about the story of Mary Slessor. She served majorly in Calabar. The story of the planting of Christianity in Nigeria would be incomplete without the mention of the Italian Roman Catholic priest, Father Benghero. So you can see, it's long, I need you to read up. I'm going to stop here so that we can start answering our questions. So Christian missionary activity started at a time after the abolition of slave trade and all that. Churches were built, schools were also built. The first school that was built in Nigeria is in Badagry. It was built by the church. So Christianity also brought about Western education. All right, let's continue. Please read up. Okay, let's look at establishment in Sierra Leone. In Sierra Leone, the Church Missionary Society, still the Anglican Church, it says an offshoot of the Anglican Church, was the first to become firmly established, chiefly among the freed captive and freed slave settlers from Britain. So you can see the Anglican Church also established their presence in Sierra Leone. It says the first batch who came out between 1804 and 1806 included the missionaries like Rina and Nailanda, and all these people came to introduce Christianity in Sierra Leone. Let's continue, please. Okay, the Methodists, known as the Wesleyan missionaries, these people also came to Sierra Leone. I need you to just read up. Okay, the Roman Catholics also were present. Okay, contribution of Christianity to West Africa. The impact of Christianity on West African society has persisted till this day. While it has brought undoubted benefits, it has also harmed the traditional way of life. The blessings which Christianity has brought to West Africa are many. Apart from giving to the converts a new religious faith, which they considered is superior to traditional religions, the Christian missionaries did pioneering work in introducing new crafts, industries, Western education, and modern health services. These are some of the things they can ask you. In WAEC, they can ask you, what are the benefits of Christian missionary activities in West Africa? Such questions can spring forth. So these are the things you should take note of. The missionary activities in West, okay, now we're going to our question. It says, the missionary activities in West Africa had the following impact on the people except dash. Let's see. What is your answer? Playing crucial role in the rise of nationalism, promoting, the answer is C. Christianity did not promote traditional marriage of more than one wife. So our answer is C. C is the answer. The initial objective of missionary activities in West Africa was to dash. B. Convert the people to Christianity. Convert the people to Christianity. The introduction of Western education in West Africa by the Christian missions paved the way for the dash. Was the answer. Let's see. D. Learning of new ideas. Learning of new ideas. Christian missionaries' support for European colonization of West Africa was to dash. Protect them from hostile ethnic groups. A is the answer. One social impact of the Christian missionary activities on West Africa was the discouragement of polygamy. C is your answer. C is your answer. Discouragement of polygamy. Christianity never supported, the introduction of Christianity never supported polygamy. So that is the answer. Christian missionaries initially found it difficult to convert people of West Africa to Christianity because of dash. What is your answer? Let's see. C. Of their inability to communicate with the people. At first, they found it difficult to communicate in the language, to communicate with the people. So they had to learn the people's language, and also so that they will be able to communicate Christianity to them. So C is your answer. One of the major activities the Christian missionaries embarked upon in West Africa in the 19th century was dash. What's the answer? D. Campaign against the slave trade. They campaigned that slave trade should be abolished. So D. One of the works that Christian missionary activities did was this thing, putting a stop to slave trade. Please take note of this. One social practice that the Christian missionaries fought against in West Africa was what? A. Human sacrifice. Human sacrifice. They frowned at it, they preached against it, telling the people of the land that you cannot carry out human sacrifice. So A is the answer. 69. The arrival of the Christian missionaries in West Africa led to what? What's the answer? Let's see. B. Building of churches of various denominations. Building of churches of various what? Denomination. That's what Christianity did. Christianity was first brought into West Africa by the dash. Remember, we said when the Portuguese came, yes, they came for trade. They even established like a church in Benin. So the answer is B. It is not the British that brought Christianity. It's just that they made it to grow, they spread it, but it was first introduced. B is the answer when the Portuguese came. So B is the answer. In the 19th century, Christianity spread more in West Africa because it dashed. Let's see. Introduced Western religion. C. I told you earlier on that Christianity introduced Western religion, Western education, Western education, please pardon me. 72. Christianity and Western education were compensations for West Africa for the ills of slavery. Let's see. A. For the ills of slavery. For the ills of slavery. Please take note of this. The earliest missionary society to come to West Africa was the Dash. Earliest missionary society to come to West Africa was the Dash. You should know the answer. What do you think? What do you think is the answer? D is your answer. Let's see. Christian Missionary Society, and it's an offshoot of the Anglican Church. Please take note of this. D. Which of the following was a challenge to Christian missionary work in West Africa? Which of the following was a challenge to Christian missionary work in West Africa? Let's see. Let's see the answer. C. Discrimination against Africans in churches. Discrimination against Africans in churches. Remember, slave trade had already been abolished. Now, Africans practicing the Christian religions with Europeans, there was a form of discrimination. So that is what we're looking at. C is your answer. 75. The Christian missionaries performed all the following in West Africa except Dash. Let's see. B. Built markets for the poor. Built markets for the poor. They supported the suppression of the slave trade. Yes, they said except Dash. So B is your answer. They did all this one. It was through Christian missionary activities that hospitals were built. It was through Christian missionary activities that Western education was introduced in West Africa. It was through Christian missionary activities that the spread of the Bible was brought in, the spread of the gospel. Please take note of this. The first missionary organization to be firmly established in Sierra Leone was the Dash. Let's see. D, the Christian Missionary Society. The Christian Missionary Society. The work of Christian Missionary Society, Christian missionaries in West Africa was hampered by the following factors, except Dash. Okay, let's see the answer. A, overcrowding in churches. There was nothing like that. The missionaries were still trying to introduce and convince the people to follow the Christian religion. So there was nothing like overcrowding of the churches. Overcrowding in churches. So A is your answer. The Bible and plug policy by the Christian missionaries in West Africa meant Dash. Is the introduction of legitimate trade? Let's see. Is B, Christianity with agriculture? Christianity with agriculture. That is your answer. The Christian missionaries played a political role in West Africa by Dash. Let's see. C, supporting colonialism. Supporting colonialism. The following factors obstructed the activities of Christian missionaries in West Africa, except Dash. Except Dash. Legitimate trade. No, legitimate trade did not stop the activities of Christian missionary activities. So please take note. A is the answer. Said except Dash. A, please. Christian missionaries initially hoped that evangelization in West Africa would eradicate the Dash. The answer is B. will eradicate slave trade and slavery. That was what they felt. They felt if we bring in Christianity, it should be able to put a stop to slavery and slave trade. The Christian missionaries found Western education useful because it facilitated the spread of their religion. Yes. With Western education, people were taught on how to read the Bible, how to read, how to write. So that was the thing. D is your answer. Facilitated the spread of the gospel. That's their religion. One reason that made some West Africans develop hatred for Christianity was that the converts were made to dash. Let's see. Renounce the traditional religions. Yes. New converts were meant to renounce the traditional religion, telling them this is idol worship. You can't combine Christianity with idol worship. Put away with idols from your father's house and all that. So the answer is C. They had to renounce their traditional religion. Okay, we've come to the end of this section. We'll be going for a short break. When we come back, we'll be looking at the Transatlantic slave trade. Take care and see you soon.